Welcome wherever you are joining us from. Today, I will be discussing God's easy plan for your marriage. Marriage is not easy. And you know that if you've been married any time, you know that marriage is not easy. I've been married for almost 20 years now, and I can tell you that marriage is not easy if you try to do it alone, if you try to do it your way, if you try to find a shortcut, you want to do things fast, you're going to eventually mess up your marriage. But if you find God's easy plan, you will eventually have it easy. At first, it may be challenging because you're going to have to learn God's easy plan. But once you know God's easy plan, you are going to be able to have a great marriage. And I hope to share that with you today. And I'm going to share that from Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. Galatians chapter 5, verse 13. We're going to share what God wants from us to make marriage easy. Marriage is not easy because you are interacting with another human who has their own baggages and their own problems and their own fears and their own challenges. And you have yours too. You have your challenges, you have your emotional wounds, you have your fears. And when those fears interact, it becomes very difficult. When your fear happens to collide or interact with your wife's fear, you're going to have you're going to find some challenging times there. When your emotional wounds rob your wife's emotional wound on the wrong side, you're going to find it difficult. And when you decide on the expectations you want to have in your marriage and they don't align with the ones for your wife, or you're going to find it difficult. So this is why marriage becomes quite difficult. When your way of resolving a problem is different from the way your wife wants to resolve it, you have a clash there, and it's going to be difficult. But there is a way that you can get to overcome these difficulties by tapping into God's provision and learning how to. And so I'm going to start from Galatians chapter 5 verse 13 in the New King James Version. New King James Version says, "For you, brethren, have been called to liberty." That's freedom. "Only do not use liberty as an opportunity for the flesh." Take note of that. "But through love serve one another." Through love serve one another. "For all the law is fulfilled in one word, even in this: you shall love your neighbor as yourself. But if you bite and devour one another, beware lest you become consumed by one another." Verse 15 is what the reality will be when you just allow yourself to operate the way you feel like operating. The first instinctive reaction to the weaknesses and challenges of your wife. If you find that you are reacting to the way she's behaving, first thing is you react. You will find that you will eventually find yourself in verse 15. And verse 15 says, "But if you act like wild animals, hurting and harming each other," that's what happens. Your actions will hurt your wife, and then she will react, and her action will hurt you, and then you will react even more, and eventually that's why marriages eventually break. But someone has to break that cycle of act, react, then act, react, and there's a cycle. That cycle, you want to break it, and to break that cycle, the Lord has given us an easy plan. The easy plan is internal to you. And if you learn to tap into that, you will find some amazing transformation. When you start learning it, it looks as if it's not working, doesn't work. Just like when I started learning how to swim. I've been learning how to swim now for, I think, 2 months. At first, I couldn't do anything in the water. I couldn't be, and the teacher would tell me what to do, but I couldn't do it. It felt like it doesn't work. Whatever you tell me to do doesn't work. But the more I practice, the more I discover that, oh, it works. So the same thing with the love, with God's easy plan for marriage. If you start to practice, it will look as if it's not working. But if you stick to it, it will become your natural way. And once it becomes your natural way, you will begin to experience the ease of it. And I'll read again in verse 13 in Good News Translation. As for you, my friends, you were called to be free. This is so important. It's important for you, but it's also important for your wife. You were called to be free. What does that mean? Freedom is a fundamental inner desire of everyone. You want, when you're a child, your parents control you, they tell you what to do. And deep inside, you're hoping to grow to the point where you're free to do stuff. You're free to determine, to a large extent. I don't think there's anybody that can determine 100% to do anything that they like, but you want it to be done to a very large extent. And when you're younger, when you're a baby, you get very little opportunity to be free. And the same for the man, the same for the woman. And as you grow up, you're aspiring to have more freedom. And when you get married, if you get married in a culture that assumes that the woman is to serve the man, you will carry that into your marriage, and you may think that you're doing right, you're being very spiritual, and you're being okay by telling your wife that you're going to control and be in charge of everything. But that destroys her freedom, and it doesn't work, because if she doesn't feel free, she's not going to feel the peace and the joy that she's supposed to feel. She's not going to feel the love from you. And the reason why both of you got married in the first place is because she felt she could be free with you. That's why she agreed to marry you. She felt that, oh, now I'm going to enter into another state. I'm going to be free. Now, of course, in today's world, a lot of women are on their own, living by themselves before they get married. And so they've enjoyed that freedom. Now, when they get married, it is ridiculous to assume that when they get married, they're going to lose all their freedom and they're going to go back to the mindset that they had when they were with their parents. That's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. The same thing doesn't is ridiculous to the men also to get married and then get a wife that tries to control him as if he's with his mother. So this is why it's important that you understand this God's easy plan. It is for freedom. There's freedom in the kingdom. Even God wants the humans that he bought, created and bought with a price to be free. As for you, my friends, you were called to be free. You were called to be free. In other words, God wants you to be able to enjoy all that he designed you for and designed for you. So important to understand this, because once you get this, it will help you to flow in God's easy plan. When I meet a believer, I try to check how free they feel with God. And many times I don't feel that freedom. A lot of believers, especially those who come from a religious background, they assume that God is always wanting to check on them, to beat them and judge them whenever they go wrong. And so they are in a state of, I don't know if I were to go wrong right now. I hope God likes what I'm doing. That is not the best mindset that God wants us to have. What God wants us to have is the mindset of children who are free to come to the Father and understand that all the guidelines that He has put around us they come from love. And once you get that God puts all these guidelines and all these instructions to love you so that you can be the best, you then transfer that same idea to your wife. So important to get it. You may wonder, why am I explaining all this? You can't understand the simple plan, God's easy plan, if you don't understand how God deals with you. Because God deals with the man the way he wants the man to deal with his wife. And of course, God deals with your wife exactly the same way too, because he is God and he loves his children, male, female, the same. He is God. He doesn't love more or less. He's always loving. He deals with you, deals with your wife the same way, and he wants you to deal with your wife the way he deals with you. And in general, he wants you to deal with every human the same way. So it is for freedom. It is for freedom that God has called you. And in Good News Translation, as for you, my friends, you are called to be free. But do not let this freedom become an excuse for letting your physical desires control you. So this is the second part of that process, the simple plan. When you understand freedom, then you also understand that there's something that is there that tries to hijack your freedom and bring your natural desires. Now, those natural desires are desires for safety, desires to be something, so for fame, desire to have power. So those desires that are there, when you find that your action is designed to help you get more of that, you need to watch it, because that's not how God designed you. God wants you to love and serve one another. When you love and serve one another, you will get all these things too. You still get the power, yes. You still get pleasure, yes. You still be protected, yes. And you still get praise, which are the things that you push for. Now, if you choose to go love's way to get this, you have gotten God's easy plan. But if you go your natural way, which is, I want my wife to praise me, every man wants that. Every man wants the wife to look up to them. In fact, I shared in several videos that the reason why men marry women that are younger is because they like the way the woman looks up to them. In general, men will do that. Even the men that marry women that are not younger than them, you will notice that the women that they marry also still look up to them in one way. We like to be praised. We like to have pleasure, of course. Every one of us does that. We want to have power to control the situation. And the reason why we want to control situation is so that either we get some praise because we are more powerful than the others, or we are protected. So all of these things, you want to check. What is it that I'm doing? Is it my natural tendency for protection that's working here? And if it is not, then what am I doing? God's easy plan for marriage is that you serve your wife and she serves you. You serve your wife and she serves you. But if you don't understand the plan, what's going to happen is that she will stop serving you, and you can fall into the trap of saying, I too will not serve you when you don't serve me. And if you fall into that trap, you're going to discover that you will slowly slip into verse 15 and start devouring one another. What you want to learn to do is, regardless of what she does, you continue to serve. In other words, you're teaching her by demonstrating what God does for you to her. And if you do that, boom, you're going to have your marriage easy. It's going to be way easier than any other method that you can even try. And so, so as a man, you show up in your home, and your wife, she's upset. You don't know what you've done. She's just upset at you and says she's not nice. She's not responding properly. She's just cold, and then you wonder what you do. So most times, this is what most men do. They speak to her and say, "What's wrong with you? Why are you behaving like that?" And she says, "How am I behaving? There's nothing wrong with me." And then maybe you cry for a while. Then you say, "What about this thing?" And she reacts in a very weird way. Then you lose your cool. You lose your cool, and you say, "Look, you're always behaving somehow. I don't even know what's wrong with you." And then she gets worse. So you see, the cycle is started. She reacted, or she acted. You don't know what the problem is. You don't know what the problem was, but she acted. And instead of you to remember the simple plan to love and serve, you decided to react. And so you fall into verse 15. What you want to do is always stay in verse 14. Love your neighbor as yourself. Or verse 13. serve one another. These are the same thing. Now, what that is, when she begins to behave in a weird way, you tell yourself something is hurting her. It doesn't have to be me, but she thinks it's me, or she doesn't think it's me. I don't really care about that. What I want to do is serve her, help her pull out of whatever problem she is, and I will bear whatever the problem, whatever she brings, so that she can be snapped out of the problem that she is in, or whatever is what wrong with her. And so you can then act anyhow you like. Maybe how you know how to act right now is ask her, what's wrong with you? And she says, nothing is wrong with me, I'm okay. Or she says, I don't know, you're always causing trouble, I'm tired of this marriage. Then you're going to calm down. You remind yourself, I'm here to serve her. Whatever is troubling her, she's going to share it with me. Even if it doesn't feel like that, I'm going to find a way to get her to share it with me. So you're serving now. You're refusing to react. And so you go ahead and ask her, I know that I may have done something wrong to you, but for now, please bear with me. I can't think of it. Would you be willing to share with me whatever it is that I've done to you? And then she may say whatever, and she may not say anything. She may just walk away. Then you calm down and continue to do what you want to do. But you're in the state of mind to serve, pull her out of whatever is messing her up. If you do that and you practice this over time, you find yourself, you always snap into that. When she's weak, you stand up. And when you're weak, you would have trained her over years of practice to also step up when you are the one falling. But sometimes both of you will fall at the same time, and you get at each other. And while you are in the process, because you've learned about this simple plan, you may snap out of it and stop the cycle. So this is the simple plan that God has designed, to love one another as yourself. So the key is to think about, if I was the one having a messed up day and I'm acting in an irrational way, what would I want my wife to do? Would I want her to attack me? Would I want her to be mad at me even some more? No, I want her to calm down and let me get out of that mess. And so love your neighbor as yourself. Think about what you will want to be done to you, even if you are foolish, even when you are the one making the biggest mistake ever. How would you want to be treated? I'll make it extreme. If you cheated on your wife, how would you want her to deal with you? That's extreme, right? Would you want her to go and get mad at you, do all those, pull you down, report to everybody around, and make a mess of you? Of course not. You have already made a mistake. You already feel so bad. You know that the marriage may not last, but you right inside, you will still want her to treat you with some respect and do whatever she needs to do to care for herself. So I put the extreme so that you can think about it, that even when she has failed, she still doesn't want to be trashed, ridiculed. Nobody wants to be ever put down. And so whenever she's messed up and she's doing strange things to you, think about how would you want to be treated, even when you're the one like that. Bam, you got the simple plan. It's not easy for you right now. It's like me learning to swim. It's very difficult, but there's a way to get that. If you try to do it by your strength, it's a good thing, because it helps you to know what you have to be, but you cannot do it by your strength. You need to learn how to tap into God's power to do that. If you have any questions, of course, put them in the chat, and we're going to talk more and more and more. If you are struggling in your marriage, you have a goal you want to hit, but you're not hitting it, then I want you to, number one, first thing I want you to do, download my cheat sheet. Is for friends to rebuild friendship in your marriage. You can do that by going to the link in the description to this video and download the cheat sheet with the video that goes with it. Second thing, if you don't like the way your marriage is, you want to hit your goals, I want you to attend my masterclass. It's going to be sometime towards the end of this year, month, and I'm going to share 5 steps that anybody who has a great marriage must follow to have that. 5 steps. And anyone that you know that's having a good marriage has followed those 5 steps. I'm going to be sharing with you for about 90 minutes, and I will be there live to answer your questions. So adesobanjo.com/masterclass. Also, the link will be in the descriptions to the video, adesobanjo.com/masterclass. Yes. Finally, if you want to join me to change the world around you, and not just you changing and your wife changing, and you want to also be a man that transfers that love, I want you to look forward to joining the men's only group that we've just created. It's $7 a month. It is designed to help men come together and answer those tough questions and be the men that they ought to be. That is not in the description. You will get more about that if you attend the masterclass. All right, or you're on my email list, you get it in your email. All right, so that's it for today, and I look forward to connecting again with you tomorrow, same time. Until tomorrow, I want you to continue to love like Jesus and make an impact.